going to share with you, I'm going to give you a little bit of an insight, a peek behind the curtain of some of the stuff that we're working on now. So obviously, if you were here in 2018, we were talking about increasing fees, increasing revenue, additional services. I'm going to talk to you about what we're talking on now, because we're constantly evolving. As Matilda absolutely spot on said, we have to keep changing. If you've got a saying in your business along the lines of, well, we've always done it that way, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Anybody had that in their office, by the way? Just give me a, yeah, it's a thing, isn't it? It used to be a thing in our office. Like, well, that's bloody good reason to change it. That is the death of a business. A business has to keep changing. If you think about it, if you stand still, are you going forwards, backwards, or are you actually standing still? What are you doing? You're going backwards because everyone else is going past you. So I'm going to start talking to you now of some of the things that we need to look for and we need to start looking towards. All right, so if you've got your pens ready. All right, so there's going to be 8 slides, 8 things we need to be thinking about in the next couple of years. Based on those big challenges, those big dominoes we talked about in the last section, what do we need to be doing in our businesses? Now, I'm going to assume that you've already dealt with all your fees and your charges and your additional layers and all that sort of stuff. All right, and we're going to move on from that as to what it is that we should be looking at. So what is the future and how do we adapt? All right, have you noticed that actually most letting agents deal with the same market? Have you noticed this, by the way, guys? Most people deal with standard private individually occupied lettings. Have you noticed this? Yes or no, guys? All right, so there's quite a lot of levels to this private rented sector. And if you actually look at some of the information around the different markets that are out there, there is a vast amount of people in HMOs now. HMOs, I was Googling some stats, and I've got some stats to share with you later in the day, so I won't share that with you. But there is it's actually the biggest market in the UK. The biggest growth market in the UK right now is HMO lettings. And I know in my time of Arla, about 90-odd% of the agents say, oh, no, we don't deal with HMOs. No, we don't deal with those. No. Raise your hand if you do deal with HMOs. Raise your hand if you do. Give these guys a round of applause. Well done. Round of applause, guys. They're dealing with HMOs. Just to let you know, it's the biggest growth market out there. If we're going to be fit for the next 10 years and we're going to battle off these landlords that don't want to use us, if we're not fit for purpose and we're focusing on the sector that we want to deal with, oh no, I'm too professional for HMOs. My brand doesn't fit. Anybody ever thought that? Be honest, yes or no? Yeah, absolutely. I did at Lawson's. I was like, oh no, we don't deal with HMOs. Almost snobbery. Yeah. Sold that for a game and sold. There's loads of money in it. I mean, come on, if you're renting out a house and you're getting £2,500 a month rental and you're just charging standard 10%, that's 250 quid. Surely that's better than not. Would you agree, guys? Yes or no? So we've got to look at multi-layered markets, because what I'm telling you now is 97%, or roughly those sort of figures. I'm going to dig out the stats later the next few days. But the majority of letting agents in the UK are focusing on standard lets. All right, so write this down. Multi-level markets. We need to start thinking about how we can work with HMOs. That is the biggest growing sector out there at the moment. Now, there's another massive sector that a lot of people ignore, although there's been a little change in legislation that's stopping us saying that we ignore it. What is that? Social housing. Social housing, housing benefit. Raise your hand if you deal with housing benefit. Raise your hand. Look around the room, guys. It's a very small percentage. A lot of them on the front desks there, but very few people deal with housing benefit. We've dealt with housing benefit about 10 years now, and I can tell you there's a ton of money in it. There's a lot of money in it. You need to know how to work it. These myths of, oh, you don't get the rent. Honestly, you just need to learn how to deal with it. So housing benefit, or LHA, or whatever you want to call it now, universal credit, that is a massive market that people are ignoring. So start looking at these multi-layered markets. Yes, you might want to set a separate brand. You might want to do it under your own brand, whatever the case may be. But we've really got to start to look, because it's a little bit like a very bad football team. Anybody got any kids who are in Sunday League? Yes or no, guys? Yeah? What do they do when they see the ball? All of them. What do? Whoa! I mean, I can't play football for tough, but they're all running after the ball. I'm thinking, this don't look right. But if you look at letting agents, what we're doing is the majority of us are all chasing this small minority of landlords that first of all want to use us. But then we're only dealing with the private standard tenancies. We're ignoring the HMOs. We're ignoring the housing benefit. Can you see what's happening to our sector, guys? Yes or no? Yeah? Now, be honest, why do we ignore HMOs? There's a little bit of snobbery there, but why do we ignore HMOs? Because it's hassle. It's too much like hard work. Let me ask you another question. With that in mind, hassle, ask you another question. Why do you think landlords should be using us? Because they don't want hassle. All right, so if we're avoiding it because the hassle, are we actually doing ourselves a disservice here? Yes or no, guys? Yeah? The number one thing that is our friend in this industry is legislation. Because the reason that they need us is because it's too bloody complex for a landlord to be a landlord now. Would you agree with me? I know that. You know that. They don't know that. But if we're turning away from things, it's too much hassle, we're doing ourselves a misservice. So we've got to get with the program and start making our businesses multifaceted. We've got to start look at how we can utilize a lot of the benefits of dealing with housing benefit. There are actually councils that will pay you £2,500 to take a housing benefit tenant. Who'd like to make £2,500 before the letting fee? Raise your hand if you'd like to make that. Is that worth a little bit of hassle, guys? Yes or no? Yeah, you need to learn about a few things, but yeah, we need to start looking at these multi-layered markets. We've got asylum seekers coming into the country, all these sort of different things. There is so many different sectors that we need to look at. So my one piece of advice here, if you look at how we can go into the new century, stop all chasing the ball. If we're all chasing the same ball, there's only going to be so many of us going to be able to score a goal. Would you agree, guys? Yes or no? So we've got to start to level up. All right, the next thing to think about. Who here uses outsourced VAs or has a VA? Raise your hand if you have a VA. Have a look how many that is in the room. All right, so that's probably about still less than around 5 or 10%. That means most of us have staff in the office and only have staff in the office doing most things. So here's the thing. How much does it cost for a full-time staff member? Average salary in the UK apparently is around 35,000 for letting staff in the UK. Would you agree with that, by the way? Yes or no? Give me a nod or a shake. Yes or no? No, I think it's a bit less than that, isn't it? We're all stingy bastards, aren't we? Yeah, but anyway, apparently, according to the PIMSOL report, it's about 35 grand. I don't agree with them, but anyway. I'm going to say 22 grand. So 22 grand is let's say, the average salary for an administration assistant in a letting agency business. But you can get a VA from anything from 450, 550, 650 a month. Wouldn't it be good, valuable use of time to actually divert some of the more simpler tasks away from your 22 grand employee or your 35 grand employee or you, the 150,000 pound employee, maybe? Yeah? Yeah? You with me on this? Yeah? Yes, sir, guys? Yeah? Diverted away to a £450, £650 a month member of staff over in the Philippines. So would you agree, guys? Yes or no? So we've got to look at how we can run more diverse teams. So we've got VAs in the Philippines. I'll give you a few things that they do for us, and maybe you can chat to some of the guys that raised their hands earlier. You can talk to them. But we actually get them answering the phone. Every single lead that comes from any of the portals, they answer the phone. Is that a low-value task, yes or no? Now, bear in mind they've already been through one of our tenancy application funnels. Then they speak to one of the VAs. When it comes down to pre-qualification, the final viewing booking, that's when they speak to the staff in the office. Yes or no, guys? Now, we took the phone calls from 250 calls a day down to about 40 or 50 calls a day. If they call our landline number, you get through to the office staff because we want landlords to come through to the office. Does that make sense? Now, if you were doing 200 less calls a day in your office, what could you do with that time, guys? You can play golf. It's not where we're going, but what could you do? Could you be prospecting? Yes or no, guys? Could you be converting those 229 landlords from that webinar into fully managed landlords? Yes or no, guys? Could you be running a webinar? Yes or no, guys? You could be doing all these things. You'd be setting up a new funnel to get some more let-only landlords into your business. You could be running a seminar. You could be going live into the group and going, landlords, you need to know the Section 21s have changed. Get on the program, guys. So you could be doing high-value tasks because I believe that actually we are a bit stingy. We should be paying our staff £30,000-35,000 a year. Don't you agree, guys? Yes or no? A very hesitant yes there. I'm with you. I know what you're doing. All right, so we should be paying our staff £35,000, but we can't because we've got them doing tasks. Why would you pay someone £35,000 if they're photocopying, filing, making the tea, dropping keys off to a landlord for free, doing an inspection for free, doing an inventory fee? Make sense, guys? Yes or no? But if they're sitting there doing this and making you valuations all the time and generating business, do you want to pay them 35 grand now? Absolutely. So we've got to look at the tasks that we have. We've got to look at the teams that we have. And it doesn't just have to be Philippines, it can be anywhere in the country. And they don't also have to be overseas. Anybody here still got staff working from home? Raise your hand if you've still got staff working from home. Look at that, about 4 or 5 hands go up, I think, based on the lights. We've got our entire tenancy management team working from home. We have a flexible working policy. They can come in the office, they can go home, work at home if they want to. And generally they come in 1 day a week because they want the camaraderie and that, but they work home the rest of the time. We monitor the using of a piece of software, write this down, called Active Track. Dawn Bennett on the TM Hub stand can tell you how to spell it because I don't know. But it's Active Track. It's a piece of software that goes onto their computers, and you can actually watch them working. You can see what they do, and it'll tell you exactly how many hours or minutes they were down, not using keystrokes, and tell you what websites they were on, all that sort of stuff. Really, really useful. So that means we can now employ a tenancy manager from anywhere in the UK. Make sense, guys? Yes or no? Also, this is a really scary number for you. Who's ever heard the question, how many properties can a tenancy manager manage? Raise your hand if you've heard that question. I get asked it 100 times a day. Honestly, it's ridiculous. And there's no right or wrong answer because the question has to come back, well, what do they do? You know, if your tenancy managers are doing inspections, check-in, check-out, moving rubbish, picking up keys, sorting out dogs, moving post, probably about 10 properties per tenancy manager. But if you've actually got it structured and set up, you can actually really squeeze that number. We've actually got each of our tenancy managers now managing 250 properties. Does that sound a lot, by the way, guys? But if I told you they never leave the office, they never do an inspection, they never do check-in or check-out, because that has check-in experts doing that and check-out experts doing that and inventory experts doing that. All they do is the admin. But here's the real sting in the tail, and write this down because this is super, super value. Give them a VA. Give every single tenancy manager a VA to do the basic admin. Do you understand where I'm going with this, guys? If you take the basic admin, some of the phone calls, some of the follow-up as the work being done, all that sort of stuff, if you give every tenancy manager a VA, do you think they can manage more properties? Yes or no, guys? So we've turned our tenancy managers into VA managers. So they do the high-level work. The VA does the low-level work. It's their job to manage those properties. And when they manage more properties, do you think we can pay them more? Yes or no, guys? All of our tenancy managers had a pay rise just in the last quarter of somewhere ranging from £4,000 to £10,000 as a result of the extra properties they've taken on, the VA management they've managed to embed, and how good they are at the job. Is that good, guys? Yes or no? All right, so that's why I say I believe we should pay them more. Because I don't know about you. Anybody here a tenancy manager? Raise your hand if you are a tenancy manager. There's a few at the back. You're hiding at the back, aren't you? I know you are. All right? You guys are living legends. I mean, the work you do is bloody awful. I'm sorry. It's really hard work. Should we give them a round of applause, guys, tenancy managers? It's tough work. It really is. When Dawn decides they're all coming in our office and they sit there next to me and I listen to them, now, Mr. Landlord, I think, oh, God, I wouldn't want to do that job for nothing. I really wouldn't. It really is a tough job. But if you can turn them into knowledge-seeking, highly trained, educated, qualified, escalations people that only deal with the high-end stuff. Does that sound good for you there, by the way? Does that sound good on that? Yeah, get rid of all that shit. Would that sound good? Yeah. But then you can pay them more because they can take on more. Makes sense, guys? See where I'm going with this? All right, so it's great if you can run diverse teams. If you can start to look at outside the area, you can start to utilise home workers, you can start to utilise VAs. So start thinking about who could answer your phone. Write that down. Who could answer my phone? How can I get those phone calls out the office? That's low-level tasks. Who could be doing some of the pre-qualification? Who could be doing some of the basic admin with the tenancy management? How can I get my tenancy managers to manage 250 properties as opposed to just 70 or 60 or whatever it is they're doing now? Make sense, guys? Yes or no? And this doesn't just apply to your tenancy management, it applies to all the roles in your business. We need to run as diverse teams. We all adapted to home working, and I know it's not brilliant full-time permanently because you have to train people. So they need to have somewhere where they can come, be trained, get that camaraderie and stuff like that. So we like the flexible thing. And the VAs, you know what? Who spoke to Teresa, our VA, by the way, about the booking coming here? Raise your hand if you've spoken to Teresa over in the Philippines. Was she okay? Was she good? Yeah, she's over in the Philippines. She's organised so much stuff at this event. She's been absolutely phenomenal. Anyway, so diverse teams. Right, so we've written that one down. All right, so we need to start looking at multi-level markets and we need to start looking at diverse teams. We need to start thinking if we need to restructure our teams. Who's got a BDM in their office now? Raise your hand if you've got a BDM. Anybody got a BDM? Oh, look at that. Anybody got their hand up anywhere? Sam's left last week, so she needs a BDM. All right, okay, cool. Right, BDM. Here's the thing. You don't need a BDM if you're generating 4 leads a week, do you? But if you're generating 200 leads coming in, Sam, I know, is really into funnels, aren't you, Sam? She's got quite a few funnels working for her, and she's got loads of leads coming into her business. If you've got 200, 300, or 400 leads a month, is it fair to say you need someone highly trained in converting those leads? Yes or no, guys? So BDM, write that down. It's a new role in agency. Don't get one if you ain't got a funnel, because if you ain't got a funnel, you're just going to batter them and whip them, and you're not going to get anything. So, but if you've got a funnel where you can generate them leads, and you can pull all these leads in, and they can say, right, come on, let's get the phones, let's work this list, let's work this list. BDM is a new role in agency. So a lot of us now are starting to look at hiring BDMs. We've actually created a whole role and guide. We actually run a training course called Conversion Conversations on how to be a BDM. It really is a key thing. If you've got funnels and master lead generation, you will need a BDM. So diversification and diverse teams. Our businesses are changing. The old days, and when you talk to the profit guys and we listen to what they're doing, they haven't got 2 negs, 2 listers, an office admin, a bunch of tenancy managers, a load of client account managers, like we used to. Do you remember that, Sue, when we used to have all those? Do you remember the whole raft old building of people? Totally different. It's changing. So start looking at the structure of your business and how it can be done more economically. Next. Oh, I've got 7 minutes and 5 slides. This is not good. All right, next. Productization. Productization. Who's noticed that every year Rightmove comes with a new product? Anybody notice that, by the way? Just raise your hand if you've noticed this. Yeah, they are phenomenal at productization. They really are. But they're not on their own. So many businesses are good at productization. Who's been to a Big Mac or McDonald's place or something like that recently? All the Happy Meals and things like that, that's productization. They've created a bundle offer. They've created a product from it. We don't create products in our industry. Here's the thing. As soon as you create a product and you give it a name, it becomes a thing, and you can sell it. Make sense, guys? Yes or no? Now, when you listen to these stories over the next few days, you're going to hear things like we started charging for inventories, charging for inspections. You're probably thinking, oh, I couldn't do that. That wouldn't work in my area. Raise your hand if you've ever heard that one before, by the way. Everybody says it won't work in my area. It's different for me. It isn't, and it will. But you feel that it will, and you feel it's different. The one way you can do it is by actually creating a product. Mr. Landlord, we have an inspect and protect service, and what we do with that is we will actually inspect the property beforehand, inspect it during, inspect it after, and we'll build in full protection as well. That's only £250 a year. Should I sign you up for that? Oh, it sounds fantastic. Brilliant. Make sense, guys? Yes or no? Productization. Anybody here charge a marketing blast and charge an extra £500 to do some, or something like that, to do extra super special marketing for them? Raise your hand if you do that. I know you guys do at the front. Absolutely. So why not charge more and give them a fantastic marketing blast, email marketing, social media marketing, all those sort of things. You get the gist, guys, yes or no? Yes or no? Productization. We are exposed to it everywhere, but we don't do it. We still go lettings and management, and we've got rent collection only as well. So we need to put in productization. We need to start thinking of these side cells. Side cells. Maybe you've got rental guarantee or something like that, but you can do more with that. Give them some sexy names and we can do productization. Here's the big one. What's our big domino? Can you remember the big dominoes? Landlords what? Landlords don't want us. They don't want us. They don't believe they need us because they've got Google now. They can find out everything they need to know on Google and ignore it. And they do it particularly well. Landlord education. All right, we have got to get with the program landlord education. If this is allowed to continue, that 40%, 50%, and I am hearing rumours of 60% of landlords continue to choose let only. If that ratio continues to grow, guys, we are all up a swanny. So we have got to all agree to start educating our landlords. Think about blogs, think about posts, think about doing live videos, think about Facebook groups, think about email nurture, start sending emails out to them, start thinking about YouTube channels, maybe set up a podcast. Do something to start educating landlords. When we run our webinars, Dawn Bennett, if she's not in the room, hopefully she isn't, otherwise she'll be after me later. But Dawn Bennett, who runs our webinars, she's absolutely formidable. She does an hour to an hour and a half. Anybody been on her webinar, by the way? I know some of you sneak in sometimes. Yeah, I know a few of you have. It's about an hour and a half of legislation, isn't it, Ben? She just hits them for an hour and a half. And there's this, and there's that, and there's this, and there's that. And here's the real interesting thing from those webinars. The people that attend tend to be let-only landlords with large portfolios. So when we get a good lead from that, they've not just got one property, they've usually got 4, 5, 6, or 7. We also get a lot of HMO landlords that way as well. All right, so if you can take 10 properties on from a webinar, is that worth doing? Yes or no, guys? Now you're probably thinking, yeah, but Sally, I don't understand all this legislation. You should do, you're a letting agent. Who has emails regularly from Arla or Landlord Today or all these different people? Raise your hand if you get these things. Read them. Honestly, just use them as quote cards. Just use them. There you're educating you on the latest legislation. Did you know the latest Section 21 has changed? You've got it down here going, oh, yes, this has changed. The big changes happened on the 3rd of September. And, what it means is the blah, 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 blah. Makes sense, guys? Yes or no? If you're part of Arla, you actually have those education fact sheets. Who's in Arla, by the way? Raise your hand if you're in Arla. You get those amazing fact sheets. Each one of those is a subject for a Facebook Live. All right, so start thinking about how you can do landlord education. You've got to embrace legislation because this is the thing that's going to make the difference between people using us and not using us. The next one. Who's noticed that when you go to a shop nowadays, you want a receipt, you don't get a bit of paper anymore, they want your email address? Anybody notice this? Who finds this really annoying, by the way? It is super annoying, isn't it? I find it really annoying. But anyway, we've got to get with the program. So the next thing we've got to look at is data capture. Now, the one thing I've noticed with the letting agents I've worked with in Agent Rainmaker over the last 5 years is that hardly any, literally hardly any, have a data capture CRM system. You've got your software where your landlords are on when they book a valuation. That's your CRM. But what I mean is, somebody came to your webinar and you're nurturing them, a prospect database. So you met somebody at a networking event, you put them on the database. A nurturing software. Makes sense, guys? Raise your hand if you've got one of these now. Just raise your hands. It's about 5 or 6 in the room. All right. Now, as businesses are being sold on the basis of their database now. It's a hugely valuable asset. Imagine what you could do if you had a BDM and a database of 10,000 landlords in your area. Would it be a little bit different for you in your business right now? Yes or no, guys? It would. So why are we not doing it now when it's really complicated doing the software, innit? I don't understand it. It's really confusing. It's not that confusing, is it? Where's Sam? It's not that confusing, is it? Where's she gone? Is she there? Samantha? I was talking to you, yeah? She was, honestly, the interaction of this place is terrible. It's not that complicated, is it? No, if Sam can do it, you can do it. But data capture is the future. We should all have a database of 5,000 to 10,000 landlords. That means your lister can never say to you, there's no landlords out there. They can never say there's no one to ring. If they say to you, I've phoned them all, you will say, what will you say in response? Absolutely. 10,000 people, come on, get with the program. You can email nurture them. One of the things we like to do is to email out with tenant of the week. So we email out to our database and say, we've had this fantastic tenant just registered a doctor at New Cross. They're looking for 2 years. We can't find them anything. Do you know anything? That gets a flood of responses, guys. But if you haven't got a CRM, what can you not do? You can't email them. So we've got to get with the data capture. So write this down. You need downloads. You need webinars. Number one is the webinar. The number one data capture tool right now is webinars. You need webinars. You need to start finding ways to get people from there to here. One of the things we like to do is a health checklist, which is basically a compliance checklist. Raise your hand if you've got a compliance checklist. All right, so a compliance checklist is where let-only landlords, which are the ones we're targeting, can check to see if they're compliant. Do you think they are? Yes or no, guys? No. Oh, that's a shame. Let me have a conversation with you. We can help you, Mr. Landlord. You definitely need to go managed. All right, you get the gist. All right, so data capture and automated marketing, we've got to get with that program. You want those leads coming in. You want some sort of function for converting, and you need a CRM system to go. You with me, guys? Yes or no? All right, cool. Really important. You heard this from Matilda, and you will hear this over and over again. Sat and Cam are going to be talking later about how they have systemized absolutely everything in their business. Sue Gidney, absolutely into systemizing every single thing in their business. Patrick, absolutely systemize everything in his business. Barry, Mr. Spreadsheet over here, systemize everything in his business, right down to the nth degree, haven't you? It's just like, honestly, I've never seen a guy work so fast on a spreadsheet. Most of us are pen and paper going, oh, I don't know. I've done a spreadsheet. Like, oh, brilliant. Systemize absolutely everything. Because by systemization, you make it easy, you make it consistent, you make it normal, and it becomes easy to do. Yes or no, guys? Yeah. That's better. All right. And then finally, corporate structures. Corporate structures is a complex area, and it's something that we work on with the ARX members quite a lot. But corporate structures is about making sure that your business setup is correct for optimum profit, return, and minimum tax. Who likes paying tax? Raise your hand if you like paying tax. My husband, if he's here, would have his hand up because he said that means you're rich. So he's around. There he is. Your hand's not up, though. All right, so nobody put their hand up, so I think they all agree with me anyway, but nobody really likes paying tax. And so we've got to look at the corporate structures, and I'm not a tax advisor, but one of the things you can do is you can look at what the other people do. What do rich people do? What does Amazon do? Does Amazon have one company and all the income goes through it and it pays all of its tax in that particular country? Is that what happens, guys? Yes or no? Or does it maybe have one in Dublin where the tax rate's a little bit cheaper? So what you can start looking at corporate structures and saying, well, okay, how can we reduce tax? I'm not talking about having foreign companies, but I'm talking about what can you do as a business. Now, Craig's done this really, really well by having multiple companies, because when you do multiple companies, Craig, what can you do? He doesn't know what to say now, though. Stumped. Pay less tax. Because if you've got a big tax bill, what you can do is cross-company invoice. You can do all sorts of magic things. Anyway, corporate structures, there's so much stuff you can do. So you need to start thinking about what is your corporate structure. Do you just have one company? Because if you've got two companies, you can decide how much profit you make. Make sense, guys? Yes or no? All right, you can be like Amazon. What Amazon will do is they'll have like 20 million of its revenue there. Then the Irish company will invoice 19.5 million over here. All of a sudden, they've only got £500,000 of the profit here. So they pay tax on that. Yes or no, guys? So corporate structures is really something when you get a little bit further down the line and you're making lots of profit, is something really to look at. So I'm going to leave you with the final words of Adam, who sat there last time we did Agent Rainmaker Live. This is Adam Lawrence, a phenomenal guy. I met him, he came into our rooms here, and he scared the life out of me because he was actually a landlord. He was a landlord, and he came into one of our one days. Can you imagine how scary that was, guys? Yes or no? I'm talking about, put your fees up, charge more, they don't know anything. And I'm like, oh, what am I going to say? The whole day's fucked, I just don't know. I'm stuffed. But anyway, he goes, no. He says, I'm here, he says, because I want to set up a letting agent. I'm sick of letting agents give me bad service. I'm going to set up my own. Anyway, Adam Lawrence decided he was not going to ring anybody or make any phone calls or anything like that. He went off and acquired businesses. Patrick can probably tell you how many now, because I know Patrick and Adam do a lot of JVs together. But the last time I spoke to him, he had acquired 3 letting agencies and generated £1.1 million worth of revenue and turnover without ever working a single day in a letting agency. How awesome is that, by the way, guys? Absolutely awesome. Let's give him a round of applause. Well done, Adam. It was quite funny because when he was talking on stage in 2019, we were all scared because we thought he'd secretly buy our business without us knowing. So nobody really wanted to talk to him. It was quite scary. It was like, oh, it's Adam, don't talk to Adam. But he gave some great words here at the end of his speech. And he basically said, what you've got to remember is what got you here won't get you there. You've built a great business. You must have, because you can afford to be here and spend 3 days with us here. So you've already built a great business. But as Sue knows, great businesses can be greater, can't they, Sue? They can be even better. Say yes, no, Sue, say yes. She said yes. She said yes. Oh, thank you, Sue. She spoke to me. But we all know that great businesses can be greater, just with a little tweak and a little change. So it's down to you now, guys. Next 3 days, it's over to you to make that change.